Hello, everyone. Showing up today for the CMAA product demo. We're happy to have you with us. We do have some more people starting to come in. We'll give them a few more minutes to get settled. And while you do, I wanted to introduce to you today Doug Vincent. He is the founder and CEO of Mastt. And today he's going to be telling you about how to improve stakeholder communication. And he's got a great presentation ahead, and we hope that you enjoy. If you have any questions during the presentation, please write in the chat, and we will be sure to see your questions and ask them towards the end of the session. So please feel free to contact us throughout the presentation and we will get your questions answered. And with that being said, we're going to let Doug take over, and we're ready to hear from you, Doug.
Cool. Thank you, Michelle. Hope you're going well. And can you see my screen okay? Fantastic. Thanks for having me so much, CMAA. I'm super pumped to be giving you guys a demo and taking through a bit of our product before we actually attend CMAA in a week's time or so. Now, to quickly introduce myself, so my name is Doug Vincent. I'm one of the founders of Mastt, and we're a software solution for PMCs. And I don't think today's webinar will take the full hour. I think we'll probably get through it in about 30 minutes or so. And I'll make sure I spend a really good amount of time taking a look at the product, which is the part everyone wants to see, obviously. So just really quickly about my background. When I finished college here in Australia, I joined the construction industry. And when you study engineering, like I did at college, you have some software, to like build a bridge or design a building. But when I became a PMC, a client's rep or a client-side project manager, it was kind of to my disbelief that everyone was just using spreadsheets to do all of their reporting. So I thought this was a bit weird, but I went along with it, and I really discovered that all of these spreadsheets, whether it was building a wharf or a hospital or a school, there's sometimes hundreds, if not thousands, of spreadsheets, were contributing to all of these major reporting, cost, time blowouts, etc. Because it was just so difficult to do. And certainly when I was a program manager, that became even more difficult. So that's a younger looking me over there, maybe a little bit less stressed. And then as I started to work on projects in other sectors, this was a problem that was fairly evident to me across all sectors. It didn't matter if I was working on a government project or a small project for a high school. This was exactly the same style of reporting across all sectors. Everyone was just using spreadsheets to compile all of their reports. And the process for all of the projects in a program that I was kicking off, this was about 5 years into my career, all of the projects, this program that I had adopted reported in the same way. You'd have your cost spreadsheets, you'd have your Gantt charts for your schedule, and then you'd have all of your wretched risk registers. And then people would go through the same process of, copying and pasting data every month and pasting it into a multitude of reports, whether that was a monthly project report or a monthly program report, or even project summary dashboard pages. There was just this huge duplication of effort. So I went along with this for many years, pulling my hair out. It's a bit hard to see, but I do have like a little bald spot at the back here from all of that spreadsheet stress, I call it. But certainly my job at that point had become like a major sad face, big painful struggle. And as a professional program manager with 8 years experience, I was basically just a post box and copying and pasting information, doing admin all day. But there was a much bigger issue here around data and what we're doing with all this data that was really exciting to me. And so after doing that for 9 years, I traded the suit for a t-shirt, startup tee. That's the Mastt startup tee there, and set about to create some software. And I spent several $100,000 of my own money in the beginning to build the first application in 2019. And now we kill spreadsheets for PMCs and program managers specifically, because that's exactly the pain and the problem that I used to do. And by the way, if you want a shirt like that, we'll have heaps of them at CMAA, or you can just send me an email and I'll make sure you get you one, because they are super, super cool and people will stop you in the street if you're wearing them. And so after swapping the suit for a startup tee, we created Mastt, which is a new innovative solution specifically for client-side PMCs and client-side reps and program managers. An easy way to get up and running on some software instead of having to build all these crazy spreadsheets or buy a really expensive PMIS system. You can get up and running really quickly. You know, sometimes people start that day, or if you're doing a large program or portfolio a couple of weeks, it's specific to PMCs and program management. So I was always a program manager managing my downstream in PMIS systems and systems like Aconex, and then all of my reporting upstream was, you know, spreadsheets and documents. So we specifically solve this aggregation problem, make it easy for the upstream program management. And it all automates all the reports. So all these things that I was pulling my hair out with, PowerPoint slides, monthly PCG or project reports in Word documents, Mastt automates all of these things. So the duplication of effort is gone. And I'll show you how we do that in a moment. And of course, all of these really rich pieces of information and data that we're capturing, we're doing something with, and that's extremely exciting. Deep analytics for what we call, you know, look ahead, data-driven lessons learned. So I'll touch on a bit of that in a minute. And so who uses this software before I show you? Well, it's a big range. So from governments on the asset owner side down to, like I mentioned earlier, a really small high school who might be doing 30 or 40 projects and just needs to get off spreadsheets really quickly in a low cost, fast, easy to use system. And then on the PMC side, whether it's, you know, Fortune 500, Jacobs or WSP, right down to 1 or 2 3-man band PMC firms who are just improving their reporting, getting better profitability out of their projects. That's the kind of breadth of customers that we have at Mastt. And we do this in Australia, we do it in the US, South Africa, and also the Middle East through UAE and Saudi. So they're our main markets at the moment. Now, really quickly, some success stories, because I thought it's always nice to show some real worked examples. So to take a bit of a range, using a very brief case study here for Jacobs, we had a multi-billion-dollar program of work, got them up and running in a week, and some of the key benefits they realized across a very large disparate program was, you know, really clear program governance. System provides all these rules, and it frees up staff, minimum 1 FTE on this program, for reallocation onto more projects. So Jacobs, you know, they're boosting their profitability through using our system. And then if you go to a mid-tier asset owner, you know, hundreds of projects, hundreds of millions of dollars in spend, and instead of waiting 30 or 60 days for reports to be prepared, they now get them, you know, live. They can do briefings straight away and then make a decision, prevent an issue or an error on a project before it occurs. And then lastly, just a really quick one on a smaller boutique PMC, Mastt & Copper, great customer of ours in Australia. We've got about 100 PMCs working for them. And finally, the firm's owners have visibility over what all the staff are doing, and they're able to deliver the projects faster and with less time. So they're increasing their profitability. And with this new technological edge, they're winning more work. And so it's been a really successful implementation for Mastt & Copper. But enough of that. Let's have a look at the system. So we're going to jump into a demo now. And please, while I am going through this, shoot out any questions and I'll do my best to answer them on the fly, or I'll just get to them at the end if it's not the right time. So I've just shared now, Michelle, the software. Just give me a thumbs up if everyone can see a bunch of tiles on the screen with project names, and then I'll crack into the demo. So this is my personal demo account. I've got, you know, six projects in here, and we might start into project A and we'll go bottom up. So I'll show you how PMC might use it at a project level, and then how we roll that up into programs, and then how those roll up again into portfolios. So let's jump into this project A. that are very, very creatively named Plan Works. I'm sure I could have come up with a better name, but we'll go with it. And we land here on the dashboard. Now, these dashboards, we didn't actually build these until after we had solved spreadsheet pains for costs, and then risks. And then these dashboards were replacing what our customers would typically use before Mastt, like a PowerPoint slide or a Word document. And they would have these briefing sessions, and they would go through all of these PowerPoint slides, briefing the head of projects or the owner of the PMC on what was happening. And so we took those and worked with customers like Jacobs, GHD, the Australian government, the Army, to map them into the system, to provide all of that information that they were briefing on live, from progress through to finances, back to the budget, all of the project's life cycle. So we're standardizing, the drumbeat and standardizing the phases of all these projects so that every project is running on the same drumbeat. And then, of course, presentation of financial information, whether it's cash flow or, contracts, which you can see on the left here. I always thought this was a really neat chart because it's a contract register. And instead of looking at, lines in a spreadsheet for your contracts, the size of these bubbles is commensurate to the spend. And then as change orders get added, the bubble grows. So it's a really neat way of seeing the ratio between the original contract and then the current contract. Payments coming around in green, and of course, super fun, super interactive. And when you come and see us at CMAA, we've got this giant touch screen, and the best interaction in the system is all about touch interactiveness in the screen. So I've got, deep contract visualizations, CapEx visualizations, benchmarking back to spend, see how you're tracking into the end of financial year, briefings on risk. So I'll go more into the risk system in a moment, but these are all the project risks, and we can manipulate those to present that, different ways for the viewer. And then all of this is downloadable to report. So instead of having to go and then manually prepare a PDF to then, send off to the client or send off to your supervisor or program manager or head of projects, you can just download a PDF and produce this, out of the box version. So this is kind of the turnkey solution, but many of our customers now have got their own custom reports that they download and then issue as required. And so where does some of this data come from? Let's jump into risk first, really quickly. It's one of my favorite parts of the system, mostly because I used to hate doing a risk workshop, where you bring up the risk register, everyone in the risk workshop falls asleep or wants to get out of there. And so that was a similar pain to the spreadsheets I had. And certainly I wanted to get rid of those risk registers, because the last step of the risk management frameworks, the global ISO standards, is all about communicating the risk. And so the worst way of doing that is a spreadsheet. The best way of doing that is with data visualizations. So the bottom half of this you can think of as the old risk register, risks, causes, consequences, pre and post mitigations. And then we visualize all of the risks here. The color is the rating, and the concentric rings are the impacts, cost and time. And so it's really easy for me to see the number one risk on this project. And if I want to view it in the unmitigated state, I can just toggle and see all the unmitigated states of the risk. Or if I want to present it in a different way, which risks are funded and unfunded, or maybe I want to view by category, back to my risk management framework, what categories of risk are appearing more than others. And then if I want to drill in, it's a really nice staged release of information, risks, causes, and you'll all be familiar with the risk matrix, no doubt, 4x4, 5x5, whatever colors you've got. Mastt is all configurable to those. Mitigations, you get the idea, consequences. And then, once you're ready to, finish off your reporting, the beauty of the system is you can always get it back to a spreadsheet anyway. And so for those who still love a risk register, I'm not sure who that would be, you can still get, never fear, a lovely spreadsheet risk register straight out of the system. So that is what it is. Fantastic tool for briefing, used by Jacobs, AECOM, all of those big guys to run a really successful risk workshops, which is awesome. So let's go to the cost module really briefly, and then I'm going to show you how all of this rolls up into programs and portfolios. So this was where I spent my hard-earned dollars building the first part of the app, was in this cost module. It's near and dear to my heart. And you'll see some of this will be familiar to how PMCs, create their cost trackers in a spreadsheet. They have to get started. So I've got, the budgets, the contracts, register, change orders, register. A lot of countries outside the US, they call it variations. So variations is change orders for those wondering, forecasts, cash flow and payments. And my biggest problem as a PM program manager in a PMO was I would receive all these spreadsheets, and then, you double click on the cell and you get this big, macro formula, B1 or half of B5. And so it's very difficult to understand what's going on and then follow the formula, see how they've arrived at this calculation. So I wanted anyone to be able to come in here and just drill in and unravel budgets to reveal sub-budgets, and then unravel budgets to reveal the commitments, and then unravel the contract or commitment to then see, the milestone payments for that contract. And so anyone can come in here, unravel the rows, drill down deep to see what's going on. And so there's no longer this dark art to the finances. It's standardized. People can move around projects and everyone will know what's going on and can make a fast, quick decision on reallocating capital. Certainly all the reporting is possible, generate your appendices for a monthly report, just put that straight into the back of a monthly report. Don't waste any time, just hit PDF, get it done. And if I need to add a change order, I can do it super quickly here, 3 dots, change order, might be for, contamination, different status controls, categorization, and then a single add in the form is a global update. So the dashboard updates, the overall position of the finances update, the contract register updates. This is, contract management 101, providing that best practice around the PMC, change order register updates. So it's all automated. You see one-time click in the form, and it's a global update project program up to portfolio. And then, toward the end of the line, processing payments, when you have to do your certificates or issuing under the contract, Mastt makes easy generating, all of those relatively mundane contract administration tasks. So this is just an example of a standard pro forma notice that Mastt helps you generate. So you can just digitally sign it, send it off for your own payment request, or even send it out for, certifying someone else's payment request. And then once it gets paid, either through a manual status change or integrations, it drops into the cash flow automatically. So I'll go back a year so we can just see some paid information. And you can see payments dropping in here really nicely, and then the user doing their, forward cash flow spend. And where you see this yellow, that is integrated with the risk module. So if you need to manage risks with costs inside your cost tracker, you can do that here, and that appears as yellow so that you can spot the risk in the cash flow and then maybe make a decision about reallocating that risk. So that's a really quick overview of the cost module. And then getting out of project land. So we've got these PMCs working in a project off the spreadsheets for all the key reporting. And then we take all of that information and we roll it up into programs and portfolios. So let's go into program A. I like a very creative name I've come up with, Major Works. And I think I've got 5 projects here in this program. Yep, here we go. And you'll see these dashboards are pretty similar to the project style with, descriptions, images, summary at the top, project stages. So I can see which, based on that, standard drumbeat life cycle that we established with stages, gates, phases at the project level, where are they at phase-wise, all of the health on the projects, all the finances rolls up. And this is all live in real time. So this is prepared live from all of that rich project information, and there's no data entry up here. So it's a beautiful roll up of this information, and one project can feed many programs. So you can create programs for whichever collection of projects that you need. For milestones, 4 milestones coming up. This is a bit of an example of presentation of that schedule view. aggregation of the spend, aggregation of the cash flow, aggregation of the risks, all in one spot. And then down the bottom here, I can see the 5 projects that are in this program, and I can click that, go back to that project. But most people I see like to view it on a map, and they can kind of go around the country and talk about or drill into a project that they need to review. And then risk-wise in the modules, no longer do you have to have some human being in a program office sitting there combining information. So it's all prepared here for you, even risks, aggregate, so you can finally see the #1 risk across any number of program of works, and it's fully scalable. So you want to add another project in, you just drop it in and it all rolls up really beautifully. And then financially, this was the piece that I was wanting to create when I first started Mastt. This is exactly what I wanted. I wanted all of my projects ledgers rolling up to me really easily for my program to report on. And so now you can see all of these projects appear here. We were in project A before, and you can still drill down and see all of that same information, and it's all live. And so again, you don't need FTE combining spreadsheets to prepare a program report. And as a program manager, you don't have to wait until the end of the month to get data or to get reports for you to then finally make a decision. It's all here every day, all day for you to access. And then all of these registers aggregate as well. So every payment, every change order, every contract appears here in the program view, aggregated really nicely so that all the important things are in one spot, irrespective of which project it is in the program. And then from a schedule perspective, this is a new product that we've developed, which again aggregates that life cycle. And the use case here is not about the critical path. It's all about that standard milestone view and telling us what's coming up. So taking that standardization, rolling it up, so I can see coming up in November, I've got construction commencement on project C, and I've got early works on project E coming up in December. So that, say you've got 5 or 6 tenders in your program, and they all happen to be landing in the same month, that's pretty bad news for a tender board or having to do a tender assessments or get delegatory sign-offs. And so this allows the ability for program managers who have the standard governance to identify those cross-project, cross-program interdependencies so they can make a decision or slip or slide a project to save surges in resources. And then my favorite part about this is all the whiz-bang data-driven reporting. But if you do need to get out a Word document, a physical monthly report, or to do your authoring of the static Word document style report, we can template that. And so imagine you're in a program and you need to standardize project reporting across 1 to n number of projects. You can automatically template that and then get every project running and reporting on exactly the same style of template in a Word document. And so this is now killing Word documents for PMCs. And this is just an example of how we can use Microsoft APIs to generate this. So I've got example program distribution, program milestone summary page. This just gives you an idea of the limitless possibilities for which we can take data out of our PMC and program specific solution to replace an entire report monthly. So all the user has got to do is just type in their narrative with their fingertips to get that into the report, and they can send it off. But all the duplication of effort is gone. Cool, let's go up to the portfolio, and then I'm going to just go through a couple of slides for the last 5 or so minutes to show you about what we're doing with all the data, because I don't have enough time today to really take you through the nuts of what we're actually doing with all of that rich information we have. So let's go to the portfolio, top of the tree, top of the pyramid, what have you. And now these portfolios roll up projects, programs, or other portfolios, again, into that parent aggregated view. And it's all, again, one-to-many. Projects, programs can feed many portfolios as required. Similar view to what we saw in the program, it's just high-level aggregation. But we do have some additional tiles here, such as sponsors. When you've got a variety of sponsors or funding streams for your projects, you want to see, what the breakdown of that is. And perhaps you may have concentration risk around some contractors, and you want to know the vendors that are operating in your program or portfolio and see how much you're paying them and what projects they're on, etc. Certainly more rich analytics for change orders. Depending on what the category of change order is, it'd be nice to know that every change order is, I don't know, scope change or a defect. Cash flow by project. So again, just making that information, live and available to the fingertips of the program manager or the portfolio manager, so they don't have to wait for a report and they can actually jump in here and see any information they need to see. And then this is a cool one. I don't have the US states in here, but it gives you a good idea where you can search, regions on the map, and it'll give you a report, for that region. So it's, it's not just a change order or a risk or a payment at project level. It's, rich portfolio level data, economic data that we are presenting here, in the system and making it live and available to program and portfolio managers. Cool. So that gives you a good overview in 15 minutes whirl of the system. So let's jump back to the slides, and I've got 2 slides just to recap and talk a little bit about the 3 parts to how we're approaching the development, of our software. So we're only a very new company. We're in global markets already, but we are developing, what we believe to be a new, really awesome solution specific to PMC program managers. So the 3 parts to it are obviously the governance. So when you're running a program of work, those projects are not self-governing. The PMO or the program managers set the rules around how the project should report. And so Mastt has got its own suite of standardized governance, program reports, program management plans, project governance docs, risk management plans that people can adopt, and you can just actually download them from our website. So we take all of that governance, whether it's our own or been provided to us, and we make it easy in the system so that you're using the right budget structure, you're using the right risks, you're reporting on the right standard milestones. And this is certainly a big boost for those companies that report on ESG. When you've got, large capital programs and large, responsibilities as a PMC, why take the risk in doing it in the old ways when there is awesome solutions out here like Mastt that can make that super easy? And so the software enhancements just really are all about speed, control, and of course for PMCs, winning work, because we're now using the technology to make their service more efficient, more effective. And then now that we've got customers of ours after a very short life, 2-3 years, that have projects finishing, we have a data science team, and that data science team is creating what we call lessons learned or data-driven lessons learned. And this is not like, qualitative. This is real quantitative data that's going to inform the next wave of projects for that PMC or the next wave of projects for that asset owner. Really cool things like maybe what's the most effective risk mitigation on all of the past projects. And then how do we get that into the mind of the next project manager so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel or start from scratch. And so that is not a subject of today's webinar, but I'd love to show you all some of that awesome new data-driven lessons learned product and how we're approaching that at the conference. Now, this journey, by the way, is pretty, we've seen this before. So just to bring it back to a really nice work example, from the governance side, we've seen all the cities and the town planners who do the plans. And then Google came along and made that accessible through some software. So that's exactly the same as what we've done with Mastt. We've made all of this standardized, relatively mundane PMC reporting and governance. We've made it easy in the software. And then just like Google and these maps companies did with their traffic data, they started to overlay different paths and directions for where the driver could go based on real-time information. And so that is the same approach and thinking that we have around the development of our lessons learned module and the way that we just develop the system in entirety. So we will be getting to a point where we'll be able to tell the project manager what to do next, tell the program manager what to do next. with all this rich data that we have. So it's super exciting times, super awesome products, and just generally making life a lot easier for program managers. And I empathize so much with those people because that's the role that I used to do. And I always like to end on a quote. So this is from an assistant project manager at WSP who's running a large program of work here for the government. And Fergus's statement around our solution was that this was right at the beginning. And he said he had the feeling that, after making the change to Mastt, he would never go back to how he would run his projects or program at the moment. So it's adding real value, awesome value. And we are attending at CMAA booth 420. So I'll be there. That's again the kind of younger looking version of me, but I'll be looking like this. So come find me, and I'll be wearing the Spreadsheet Kills t-shirt, and we're going to have thousands of them to give away because they just fly off the shelves. And then if you wanted to see between now and then a bit more of a demo, by all means reach out to me, but you can also reach out to our US VP, John Chesser, on that email to get in touch to take a look at more of our system. But I really look forward to seeing everyone at CMAA. And Michelle, thank you so much for letting me go through today's presentation. And we've kind of finished bang on the half an hour there, so we're able to give people half an hour back and get on with the rest of their day. So thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. I have a couple questions if you wanted to answer those.
Sure.
Okay.
Love to.
So how easy is it to produce reports with Mastt?
Sure, that's a good question. And I'm glad that I presented that in the demo, because once we have the reports, if they're templated, you can just hit download and it'll give you that report straight out of Mastt. So there's almost no work to do for you. You can use all of that out of the box reports, or provide us with templated reports for your organization, and you can just download those straight out of the system. So it's super easy. There's no effort, and it comes straight out into the template that you need.
That's great. Thank you so much. So how much effort is required to roll up project level information into the program level?
Yeah, and this was part of the genesis of the system. Was there was certainly other solutions out there that I had used for getting the job done, but no one really made it easy to aggregate that information up into a program. And so with Mastt, being able to standardize it all, we can add any number of projects into a program automatically. So it's like an instantaneous roll up. The system is specifically configured and built around that aggregation of information to the program manager. And so all you have to do is, add project to a program, and then all of the reports populate beautifully with that project data. Okay.
So if someone wants to start implementation process on a single project or a program of projects, what does that look like for the implementation?
Sure, that's another really good question, because if you're trying to get up and running fast on your project, you don't want to have to go through a big long configuration or buy some expensive software. You want a light, easy to use, fast solution. And so for those smaller programs and smaller, maybe a PMC who's just wanting to use it on one project, they can get up and running that day. For larger programs of work that might have hundreds of projects, we do need to do a very quick data upload process. And then, of course, training with our in-house PMCs here that now work as customer success. And so to give you an idea, we've done government departments that have got hundreds of projects and hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars worth of projects in those programs. We've done them in 2 to 4 weeks. And so this is a solution that gets you up and running super quickly, getting value, and you don't have to wait 6 months or even a year to implement some of these other systems. So you'll know very quickly whether you like Mastt or not, and you see time to value, which is the most important thing.
Okay, perfect. An anonymous attendee has asked, what is Mastt's USP compared to other project reporting tool in the market? And then the second question is, who enters the initial data at PMC's office?
Sure. And can I ask, Michelle, what's USP? What's USP stand for?
Maybe that person will ask or give a little bit more information on that? Oh,
Yeah, sure. I'd love.
I'm sorry, unique selling points. That makes sense. Unique
Oh,
selling.
our target ideal customers and our target customers are the PMC program managers. And so exactly the same as the job that I used to do here in the Pacific and overseas, we go after and provide a solution specific to those consulting PMC companies who are doing program management or looking to, standardize practice across their business. So that's our ideal customer. And then the second question was around, I think, data entry. Yeah,
Yep,
data entry.
Yep, it was who enters the initial data at PMC's office.
Cool. So if there's existing information on the project in spreadsheets, like maybe a risk register, we upload it all automatically, or you can upload it yourself and then get up and running. If it's a new project, you just start working. For integrations, most common integration is, the upstream with the parent accounting system where they're actually facilitating a payment. And so some information can come through integrations as well. But most often, if you're a PMC, for example, and you're needing to make an update to a risk in your risk register, you'll do that directly in the system. And so most PMCs are using the system daily, updating information, generating reports, certificates, and other artifacts that they need to do their job.
I guess even along those lines, what type of savings have your customers seen, using your product on their programs? That's kind of in conjunction with what you just mentioned.
Yeah, that's another really good question. And I like to think of it in two ways. Certainly, time savings, and then also there's, the winning work. So for program officers, you can reduce FTE, in the program office because you don't need to have, human there doing a lot of this manual reporting effort. So on a project or on a program of work of say 40 projects, we've seen savings of up to 1 to 2 FTE, and that's just in the time savings. And then if you're looking at more, quantitative data statistics around, say, early identification of risks or shoring up cash flows, then we've got a whole lot of ROI data to present on how Mastt makes more accurate the reporting into the client. And generally, we're able to free up 2 to 5% of the program spend just for reallocation of capital through the confidence that people get in the system. So that's some of the quantifiable returns. And then for firms who are, trying to win work, when you're talking about your company's experience or your methodology about how you're going to do things, you want to be presenting your service to be the most efficient and the most effective that there is. And Mastt software enables those PMCs to do that. And so it's time savings, but it's also winning new work through competitive advantages that we're seeing over here in the Pacific, Middle East, and the US through that more efficient, more effective service. So it's time saving and work winning at the same time, which is great for PMCs who are trying to win that next project or get that edge for the next tender.
Perfect. So where is this data stored? Are there issues with owner firewalls if they wish to protect their data within their own environments?
That's another really good question. And because we're a new system, we don't have the legacy tech debt of some other providers. So we can deploy our service, anywhere in the world. It's all stored on Microsoft Azure. And we have got instances, in all of our markets. For governments over here in Australia, where data sovereignty is a thing, we have a deployment onto a government data center. And that is, unblocked on all of their firewalls, so they can access it through their defense networks. And that's because we've built the product with only services and other products and infrastructure that have been certified to a certain level by governments. So we've only ever built on certified infrastructure, and that allows us to have a really easy time, quite frankly, meeting the requirements of security and governments and data sovereignty and hosting, etc.
Okay. How are the inputs to the system controlled, since it's different aspects are available there from a cost, risk, etc. standpoint?
So I think how are the inputs controlled? So we have got, I guess the control comes through, standardized forms in the system with all of the inbuilt business rules and validation that you'd expect your PMC to be following. For example, you can't make a payment or request a payment against a commitment that has, or a change order that is not approved, for example. And so we try to put all of these guardrails and the standard business practice and best practice procedures are in the system and then presented in, smart form data entry to provide that control around the way the information goes into the system. So I hope that answers the question correctly, but I'd be happy to take an email and answer it a bit further if needed.
So here at CMAA, we have 18,000 members currently. And so we have members that are working on big projects, small projects, across the board. So are there any projects that are too big or too small for your software?
And I mean, the answer to that is no. We've got some projects in Saudi Arabia that are, totally insane, multi-billion-dollar programs of work for some fantastic clients. Then you go all the way down, and maybe you've got, like I said earlier, maybe it's a small property developer, or it's a local county that might have some really small projects. And so it doesn't matter whether it's a large multi-billion-dollar redevelopment or city, right down to replacing a light pole. I think was the smallest project we ever had in the system, which was part of a program of work. They're all doing the same stuff, reporting, costs, high-level schedule and status reporting and risks. They're all doing the same thing. It's the order of magnitude changes when you have much larger programs of work. And so it's really proud to be able to say that we provide a service that meets the requirements of the Department of Defence in Australia, and then that same software can be used by a one-man band PMC to do their job and run their projects with that level of precision, just the same as the government does. So yeah, any PMC will be getting value out of this, irrespective of the project size.
Perfect.
Or program size.
That's great to know. Is there any other questions that anyone may have that we can answer for you live? We just got another one here. Can multiple user access multiple products concurrently when entering or modifying projects data?
So I think if I interpreted that correctly, is it multi-user or multi-organization? So the answer is, yes. This is a system that is collaborative. So we like to get everyone in the system looking at the same information, and then it's all permissionable from there. And certainly multi-org as well. So multiple organizations and their users coming onto projects and then permission what they see. So maybe only some people log in and see just one or two projects, but the program manager logs in and sees everything. So yeah, we can handle all of those types of requirements. No worries.
Perfect. So we do have a bunch of different members here at CMAA, and that does include education. We have students, we have educators that are members, and a question just came in, is there free access for educators?
Yeah, we actually have some project management education institutes in Australia who have a free license to our system to use it as part of their project management or program management curriculum. So yeah, it is something that we encourage and we've done in the past, and I'd love to help the next generation of our people for this industry. So yeah, I'd love to take that request to my email and then do whatever I can to help out. So that's something that we do a lot of, for sure.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get you connected with the person who wrote that question in. Looking for any other questions that you might have coming in. These questions have all been wonderful. Thank you for being So open and participating in this demo. And we'll give it 1 or 2 more minutes. And I didn't know if you had any closing thoughts, Doug, that you wanted to share.
No closing thoughts, but I will be at CMAA in San Diego in a week's time. And so I'd love for anyone to just pop past our booth, come and get some of our Spreadsheet Kills merchandise. We've got, hoodies and shirts and stickers. So yeah, you won't be able to miss us, I don't think, but I'd love to give some of that stuff away. So, and just have a chat with a lot of the other colleagues of industry that are going to be there. So yeah, I look forward to that. So yeah, please come and find me at booth 420.
Absolutely. We did have another question that came in. How does licensing and the cost of deployment work?
So the cost of deployment is mostly zero. So we don't actually charge for services for implementation. And then the license fees, which is similar to your Netflix, like just a monthly license fee, and we do it per project. So we've got a very simple table of rates. And if the project is between, I don't know, 10 and 50 US dollars, it's maybe $1,000 or $1,100 per month for the monthly license fee. So, and then you can get up and running quickly. And if you want to cancel it, you can cancel it, just like your subscription to Netflix and other products. So that's how it works. And then for programs, and as we get up to enterprise, the pricing changes a bit, but that just gives you an idea of how it works. Monthly license fee per project, and no charges generally for implementation services.
That sound like some great pricing, and I do like the comparison with Netflix. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. And if there's no other questions, I just want to let you know that this is recorded, and we will send out the recording tomorrow with any additional information from Mastt that might be of benefit to you. And yes, of course, shameless plug for CMAA 2022, which starts on Sunday in San Diego. Make sure that you come visit us. We have great attendance this year, and we'd love to have you with us. And thanks again to Doug. He's on the other side of the pond where it's 5:30 a.m. in the morning. So thanks for getting up so early and giving us this insightful information. Doug, thank you.
No worries. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for attending. That was fun, and look forward to speaking further.
All right, we will definitely get you Doug's and John's information, which is below, but we will also connect you via email tomorrow morning. Okay. All right. Thank you, Doug. Thanks to everyone who attended, and we will see you again soon. Have a wonderful day, everyone.